What's all the PMS with Coach G? It's positively motivating sisters with purpose, meaning, style. Are you ready for positive conversations inspiring you to your next level? Do you need motivation to get you growing? Are you a sister, woman, leader, boss, mom, wife, female, her, she? I think you know what I mean. Are you seeking purpose in your life? Do you know the meaning for which you stand? Do you know your style is your unique authenticator? If you answered yes to any one of these questions, this podcast is designed with you in mind, which embodies the whole you mentally, emotionally, physically, financially, and spiritually. Sisters, we are on a journey in connecting you from where you are to your what's next with purpose, meaning, style, and it all starts with you. Hi, this is Coach G, your Chief PMS cheerleader, motivating and empowering you to win in your personal and professional life, your connector, guiding you and bridging the gap from where you are to your what's next. I am your leadership and growth coach strategist, empowerment speaker, author, mom, wife, Christian, and I get to serve you in doing what I am passionate about. You, sisters, we are on a journey for you living your life on purpose, for purpose, with purpose, meaning, style. Thank you so much for being in this space with me as you are listening and sharing this podcast. I thank you. I am so grateful for you just taking the time to be consistent in showing up and listening. And you know what? Motivating yourself to continue growing. And that's what we're in this space for. So you can continue to create habits in reaching your success story. So thank you for giving yourself permission to listen, whether it's your first time, you've been with me since day one. I always say that, or whatever time you're listening, I want to say thank you. Thank you as we continue to show up here every week to educate, inspire, and elevate your growth personally and professionally. But before I begin, let me remind you there is always another way you can support this show financially as we continue to show up with other guests as we empower you and other women on their personal and professional growth journey. And you know what? The cost of maintaining the show. You can go to the show description, click on the link, support the show, and make a donation, which is your voice saying, I stand in support of this podcast, how we serve, what we deliver. And in other words, you know what? You are being a blessing to this podcast so we can continue to bless others. So we're in episode 84, Flow in Self Awareness. And I want to talk about three tips in flowing in your self awareness. So, flowing in your self awareness can improve your productivity, enable better decision making. You gain a greater perspective. And you know what? You're even more effective in your leadership. So, why wouldn't we want to flow in self awareness? And you know what? We get to do that by peeling one layer at a time. I want to share three tips to flow in your self awareness. Of course, there are more, but let's stick with three, for the sake of the timing of our time in this space here together. So, did you know that there are three main layers of the skin? Now, listen to what I'm saying. I'm saying three main layers. There are three main layers of the earth and three main layers of the heart. So, let's talk about the three main layers in the aspect of self awareness. We're going to get right into it. When we think about those layers, you have the outer layer, which is the cognitive, or let's say consciousness. Think of it as the surface. It's that tingling feeling of awareness in which you notice there's a thought, that something's there, something's kind of capturing your attention, but no real deep digging thoughts about the feeling or behavior. It's just on the surface. But then as you continue to peel, when you peel into that next layer, well, what we're going to say the inner layer, which is that middle layer, which is more the physical or witnessing layer of self awareness. This is when the thought begins to absorb. It's a little bit more than just getting your attention. You're actually feeling something there. You are present with that thought, that feeling, or that behavior without judgment, though. It is the awakening state, which the experience intensifies because you know what is physical. You begin to gain a change in your perspective in life. And you know what? Your values become a precedence in your decisions, thoughts, and behavior. So, based on a study, people reported their awakening through self awareness improved their sense of confidence, optimism, and trust. And you know, if we think about it, sometimes, and maybe sometimes in most cases, those are things that we really don't like to do. We don't like to really look deep down or look inside because maybe sometimes we're afraid of what we will discover. Or maybe sometimes we don't even want to face what we'll discover. But through that discovery, again, it improves your life. It improves better decision making because now you're more aware of certain thoughts and behaviors and actions. You have a different perspective about it. You're a better, more effective leader. And you know what? Even productive in your life. You're confident because now you have kind of an understanding of what that means and what it means for you in your life when you face certain situations or when you encounter certain challenges. But then let's talk about the last layer. The last layer, as you're peeling those layers, that last layer is the core. It's the emotional state of self-awareness. It is the heart and essence of you. This is when you are fully immersed with intention. You're really intentional about what was that? You know, you're going deeper in noticing and getting an understanding of your thoughts. You're getting the understanding of those feelings and that behavior. So think of it as getting in touch with your emotions. It is your relationship with your emotions. And think about when you're in a relationship. Don't we want to, you're in a relationship, you want things to, kind of be very cohesive and you want things to, I'm going to say, gel. Don't you want that for your own self? So why wouldn't we flow in self awareness? Why wouldn't we stop to take the time to look at to peel those layers through our lives so we can show up in a way that we are more confident. But through each one of those layers, you know what? You get the space to peel through the experiences of your life and what it teaches you about you. Yes, the focus is you because it's not so much of just being aware, but being self-aware, which is taking you on a deep dive journey, fully immersing in and with yourself. So can we talk about the 3 tips to flow in self-awareness? So one of the first tips, before we get there, you know, in each one of these, it's always about getting an understanding of you. So number one, let your values set a marker for you. Often there have been other episodes we've talked about that when we talk about your values and you knowing your core values and beliefs, that's very important for you. That's kind of like something lighting the pathway for you. So, my question to you is what are your values? Do you know what they are? Let that help set a marker for you so you become more self aware based on what your values and beliefs are. And then that number 2 is just like recognize the signals at the moment. When you're hurt, when you're frustrated or stressed or overwhelmed, even when you're happy and confident and content and passionate, any of those emotions give signals. So instead of just allowing it to be a feeling like, oh, I'm happy, oh, I'm joyful, know what that means for you. When you're in that flow of self awareness, take time to see what triggers that feeling. What triggers that thought? What triggered that behavior? Maybe it's when a certain person comes around you. Maybe it's when you get ready to work on a certain project. Maybe when you prepare for a test or taking one. Take time to ask yourself, what is causing me to feel this way? That is when you take a deeper dive into understanding you and understanding the why behind it, which gives you a different force in your life, a different intention in your life. And don't we want to be intentional? That's how we grow. And then that last one is get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Yes, I know we talk about that. We talk about getting out of your comfort zone because you know what? It may be one that, okay, I'm not comfortable asking myself questions, or I'm not even comfortable looking deep within myself. Maybe it actually triggers other emotions. But you know what? That's the whole point for you to face what that is, what causes that and the why behind it, because then you gain a different sense of control for your life as you maneuver and navigate through your life. So get comfortable with being uncomfortable and asking yourself what questions to lead you into that introspection. So yes, ask yourself, often, you know, you've been on an interview, right? And what is one of probably question that you most likely will get asked? What are your strengths and weaknesses? Man, I have to admit to you, when I was asked that question, a lot of times I didn't quite want to answer that. Maybe it was because it made me shift into a thought of what are my strengths and weaknesses? Or sometimes when we answer those what, we answer based on what we think that person thinks it should be or what it should sound like to make it sound good. But you know what? That part of authentically showing up for you as you get to dig into that self-awareness. You get to dig into what ignites you, what drives your passion. Even in that fact of asking yourself, what are some blind spots or areas for growth for me? Ask yourself that. Those are those things that you become more aware of. So when you're in a certain environment or situation, you know what may trigger that feeling. You know what may trigger nervousness for you. You know what triggers the negative emotions or reactions and why. That what do we say? Get an understanding, get the why behind it. But be okay with asking yourself what questions, what motivates you, and what inspires you. All those are questions that you get to ask yourself as you flow in self awareness. And maybe you're at a place where you're saying, well, you know what? Okay, I asked myself those questions. And you know what? Give yourself the space to dig in and look inside and seek those answers for yourself because you know what? It is your life. And so we get to flow in that self awareness. We get to peel those layers back, one layer at a time. And you know what? Which brings me to this moment. Thank you for giving yourself permission to even just take the time to listen in. Because even questions like this, that as we ask these questions on this podcast, you finish listening to it and you stop and you get a piece of paper and you say, you know what, let me answer that. What are my core values and beliefs? You know, what is causing me to feel this way? What excites you? What makes you nervous? But then when you get to the what, then we go to the why behind it. And maybe that's a part of needing a coach, needing that one on one coaching, needing that part of just leading and guiding you into your next. And so that is where I get the opportunity to invite you to step into that moment of growth, step into your next as we move forward, holding you in a sense of accountable for yourself so you can become more aware of things in your life around you, not just on the surface, but at the core and the essence of you. So thank you so much as you continue to listen to this podcast, as you continue to share, as we continue to connect where you are and your what's next. So you are empowered to win in your life and business on purpose, for purpose, with purpose, meaning style. And so, what does that look like? One on one coaching, group coaching, leadership coaching, speaking, all of that. Go to the show description or go to the website, gstylecoaching.com. And you know what? Let's work together. Click the link and schedule time so we can work together. And in the meantime, I thank you as you continue to share with other sisters or share with someone else on their journey. Maybe they need to just stop and say, okay, let me ask myself those questions too. And maybe that's where that guide comes in as a help. And so we get to win together. So keep listening, keep sharing, subscribe, follow, stay connected, all of those great things. And you know what? Continue to, if you haven't took time to rate this podcast, rate the podcast. Send comments and talk about things that you would love to hear on this episode because we're showing up for you. I'm showing up for you. That is what I'm passionate about. And so, as you continue to rate this podcast, that increases our visibility, that increases our reach. And I want to thank you in advance for supporting this show. And as you continue to support this show, and in saying all of that, until next time, sisters, let's keep growing because it all starts with you.